So, it's taken me about a year to make this video. If you're a follower of this channel, you know that year's been fairly empty here on my YouTube space. It's been kind of a crazy handful of months, but we're back, and we got here by following the ideas in this video. In other words, I kept my sanity and my strength this past year through a lot of the principles and concepts talked about in this video. Stick around to the end of the video where I'll show you my template for how I put this workout concept into action. Now here's the official start to the video. Hey you, time to connect with our body better. Are you low on time, tired, stressed out, lose your gym in a flood? If you suffer from any of these symptoms, you might benefit from empowered abbreviated workouts. No, we're not actually gonna call it that. In fact, this type of workout doesn't really have an official brand name yet, despite this style of training being the cornerstone of so many heavily branded programs and products that have infiltrated the zeitgeist. For instance, when everyone started inaccurately throwing around the term Tabata, that was one version, no matter how misinterpreted, of focusing on shorter, more intense workouts. And there was also HIIT, and of course CrossFit, more about that later. And there was also HIIT. Yes, before HIIT, there was HIIT. Although they're not very similar, only one of them is worth talking about. First, for the sake of labeling, and for the future franchises and certifications I'm going to be selling, let's call this genre of workout abbreviated training, or AT for short. AT is also the nickname for the wonderful Appalachian Trail, which happens to be right around here, which has nothing to do with this video. But if I'm going to talk about AT, I'm going to do at least a little bit of that on the AT. Onward. So how do you do it? So how do you make an abbreviated workout? Well, I'm not one to give recipes, but I'll tell you how I do it. I take my normal workout and just smoosh it all together. Now, if you've seen my videos, you've read my books, you know my template. My whole training is centered around skills. And to train skills, you got to train movements. And to train movements, you have to train muscles. It starts with something highly skilled, and then you train something to support that, and then you do something to support general wellness, general fitness, GPP, general physical preparedness. So for abbreviated training, you take all of that and you go, and you smush it into one compact, repeatable process. Without the separate categories, without the rest periods, you're just trying to go. So usually it's something pretty challenging, something that supports that, and then something that supports you generally. Or maybe just doing all the things together is what supports you generally. It might all be one big GPP chunk, but with varying levels of force development and skill development built in, baked right into it. I'll show several examples throughout this video of how I might put it together, but for your journey and your free-thinking brain and your experiences, I'm excited to see what you come up with. There is no wrong answer. Well, there is one thing I will keep repeating throughout this video. No matter what you end up doing, no matter how you put it together, do it well. So even when CrossFit was introduced in the early 2000s, the concept of abbreviated training was already well established on the modern physical culture timeline. So now we talk a little bit of history, and I swear just a little bit. Maybe. I hope so. Although it's been years since I've used a weight machine, I hear there's still a thing. If you use one in your training, thank Arthur Jones, the narcissistic cosplay scientist who created Nautilus. Jones taught that intensity meant exhaustion through repeated effort, not max effort like strength sports and not work capacity like CrossFit. He meant lighter weight moved until your systems were just deep fried like a Twinkie at a state fair, gooey and useless. His goal was that you completely exploit your central nervous system and your muscular system on just one set, roughly 6 to 12 reps of any exercise, and then move on to the next exercise. Of course, you had to do it on his machines for the most appropriate range of motion for complete muscle, blah, blah, blah. But your entire workout would only take about 30 to 40 minutes, and 4 times a week was plenty. Then came Jones' protege Mike Mentzer, who would win a Ray Mentzer lookalike contest. Mike said, "What is this, a fucking marathon? You're doing too much. Let's do it even less. All you need is 20 minutes, 3 times a week or less. But still, as hard as you can. Deep frickin' fried Twinkie status." It's the hard as you can part that we're going to circle back around to in a little bit. Was Jones or Mentzer right? No. But also, Yes. Mentzer wasn't trying to make stronger versions of any human being. That was never his goal. He was all show, who cares about the go? Yet performance is where a kernel of his and Jones' ideas have some very powerful merit. Some important lessons in my own training began by pulling nuggets of possibility from the hyperbole of the entire hit multiverse. But first, a quick word about the overlooked, underdefined word, intensity. What is high intensity? Or what the heck is intensity? Go to any popular fitness brand's website and you're going to see the word used a lot. But no one ever explains what it truly is, especially in regards to strength and movement. Okay, so here's where I start to ramble. We'll get through this quickly. I mean, I've written chapters about this in my book, and I teach weekend-long workshops defining what intensity is. So in this video, I'm just going to cliff note it, hoping maybe you come to my workshop or buy a book. So this might entice you, or the whole video goes sour right now. Intensity can be described as challenge times investment. More investment in a greater challenge means more intensity. Big investment in tiny challenges is often just being busy, not productive. This is often the backbone of hustle culture. Small investment in a big challenge usually results in the "at least I tried" excuse, nothing accomplished. And remember, intensity is just part of the recipe of transformation. Consistency and purpose are the other ingredients. But we'll riff on that another day. So for Jones, and more so Mentzer, their programming was inaccurate, their goal was shallow, their execution was horrible, but there was a tiny little seed of an idea that was absolutely spot on. Focused intensity means less volume. How they manifested that intensity was their fumble, and many other programs still make the same error, albeit wearing different frocks. Blind exhaustion isn't the answer, even if achieved quickly. Whether it was the forced muscle fatigue of HIIT or the more faster model of CrossFit and their copycats, the shorter duration isn't the secret sauce. In fact, both of these short jam models skip where the specific alchemy is. Quality. Not sexy at all, so let's spin it in some modern vernacular. Intensity through embodiment. I'll sum it all up quickly in this little chart right here about how to increase your intensity. 1. Do it better. 2. Load it. 3. Explode it. 4. Do it different. 5. Do it better. With do more faster being the common modern go-to, or more to failure being the HIIT protocol, we too often skip right past the most important part. Intensity through more quality. Do it better. Be precise, be present, be purposeful. The 3 Ps that I mention again and again. One set to exhaustion, where exhaustion is achieved because you are focused on doing it well, will change your entire system. Whereas exhaustion through beating yourself up is simply piling on trauma to a body that's probably already pretty abused. Good stress versus bad stress, embodiment versus abuse. Train within your value system. If you value self-abuse, disregard this video entirely. I'm sure TikTok has some great subcategories you can relax with. I'm a fan of connection with my body, and that can include intense challenges and even a little bit of danger. In fact, we have a greater chance of surviving and thriving through those dangers if that connection with ourselves is stronger through the quality of our movement. Volume isn't bad. In fact, in the quest for skill building, it's essential. But supplement the big days with little days, not in intensity, but in duration. All right, so I explained my template a little bit already, but I invite you to put something together following this general guideline. And let me know how it goes. Pick something challenging, whether through technique or load. It's something that you can't do a lot of because it's either technically challenging or it's just heavy, or a combination thereof. Then immediately support that with something. This will be a movement or an exercise that through technique or muscle usage actually supports that first skill. Then, whatever you feel like. Something that supports your overall fitness, your overall strength, your overall physical preparedness. Does it have to go in this order? Not really. I suggest this first thing up here. Everything else is malleable. In fact, one of my favorite applications, which you'll sometimes see in my Instagram videos, is you do the challenging thing, in this case, a jumpy split squat. This isn't loaded, but it is explosive, and it takes a lot of my focus. So I'm gonna put it towards the beginning of my jam, and then we're gonna move. Now doing a slow crawl, and it's a slow crawl because there's something that's happening at every point along the way. You can call it a stretchy crawl or a step and reach crawl. Just something to get me from one point to another, but there's a lot of groovy things happening in the process. But it takes a while, but that's okay, because eventually I get to a squat press windmill, which is exactly what it sounds like. You squat press it, you do a windmill. Great general support for the whole body, and then I crawl back. This time a backwards bear crawl. And that just makes this nice little loop, both physically and design-wise, where you just keep sort of moving, going from one thing to another, back to that first thing, down to another. These are just ideas. Take it, do something with it, let me know how it goes. Just remember, with intensity through quality, you don't have to spend that much time training. Take the strength and the skill you acquire through your training and go use it. Go have a movement practice beyond your training and find joy through it. Not suffering, not obligation, but joy through movement. Thanks for watching. Thanks for inspiring because you do. Thanks for having me back. We'll see you soon. Bye.